talking about the journey for Athiani in celebration of 10 years. For me, the 10 years anniversary is a huge milestone for us as a station, and for me is also as a journey and a story, in the fact that it reminds me of the process of starting a station. And I remember the way back in 2008 and 9 when I was working with an NGO in Nairobi, Kenya. I used to receive so many job requests, or I used to receive many applications of many students, many candidates, and because we didn't have many positions to be able to give unto them, that challenge of looking at young people and the young generation living without job opportunities, it really disturbed my heart, and I was to find a way of creating opportunities for them. So while I was working in the NGO, through my many interactions, both locally and internationally, the challenge became more evident to me that I needed to do something, especially for the young generation. And I decided every time I'll get to job from 6 a.m. to the evening at around 6 p.m. or sometimes I'll work up to 10 p.m. I decided to think of something that I could do in a way of giving the young people some chances and opportunities. So one time I thought of, why can't I start a radio station? And as I contemplated about setting up a media house, I knew the challenges that came along, and I also looked at the idea in a big spectrum of what it entails to set up a media house. One, I knew that for me to set up a radio station, I needed to have licenses, that is frequencies and licenses from the communicator, that is we used to call it the Communication Authority of Kenya. Then I decided now for me to be able to do that, I needed to find time, because while I was looking at my schedule of work, I had very little time. So I created time at night. So I used to work at night. When I get from work, from around 10 p.m., I'll sit down and plan to do a business plan into that spec, so that I would have a structured plan of setting up or rolling out a media house, then looking at the things that I needed to do, if there are legislations and the finances and also the structures that needed to be done. So after leaving from work, I'll go and sit on my computer every evening. I'll work, I'll make sure I sleep for 2 hours every day for almost 6 months, trying to work on a good business plan. So in that aspect, I developed a business plan, a 5 years business plan with 5-year projections. So it is on this on this basis of having a business plan, I decided now I can use the business plan to make application to CA for grant of the licenses and the frequencies. Remember those days there were challenges, many challenges. Getting frequencies were it was a huge journey. You'll make application, you will follow up, But I thank God that with the applications I made, some of them stayed for 2 years, others stayed for 3 years to be granted the frequencies. So, and through that was the other things were the cash flow challenges. At that time, I didn't have enough funds to be able to set up, because setting up a media house, especially a radio station, where I had planned to have around 4 frequencies, be able to cover over 20 counties as initially planned. So then I decided now to, once I made applications from 2008, 2009 I made another one, and 2010 is when we were granted the frequencies and the approval by Communication Authority of Kenya to be able now to set up a radio. Remember, being given a frequency is just a starting point, because once you are given the frequency assignment and you are given the license, is when you begin to identify the things that you need to have for you to set up a media house. So after being given the frequencies, now I had to to set up a team that will help me implement or bring Athiani into the space. And the other thing also which came into the place was to identify a name for the radio station. And I remember what I did is to sit down, I listed around 20 names for the radio station, brand names that I really wanted. But in the midst of those 20 names that I had listed, to pick up one of the radio station brand name I really wanted to use, I came up with Athiani FM. A reason being of the history behind Athiani. The history behind Athiani, remember, from the word Athiani is a plural. In singular is Mudhiani. So the word Mudhiani means a leader, while Athiani was used to mean informers.